Hello, everybody. It's Dr. B. I am here with Dr. P. And I have been getting a ton of questions about histamine. I think just because it's springtime and a lot of people are having trouble with allergies. And so this question sort of tends to come up because it's very confusing to figure out, right? If you're having environmental allergies or are you reacting to histamine in your food? And then if your migraines are worse, what's the link there? Do you need to avoid high histamine foods? So many questions. So we're just going to kind of talk about that a little bit today, try to give you some clarity and some useful takeaways that might be helpful for you. So my concern about all of this emphasis that I see out there about avoiding histamines is that what happens is that a lot of people who are avoiding high histamine foods in an attempt to improve their migraines actually end up also avoiding foods that are high in probiotics. And probiotics are essential for gut health. Probiotics give you more of the good bacteria that make the mucus lining that helps seal up your gut. And when your gut is sealed up, then you are you are less likely to get that inflammatory reaction from leaky gut. And inflammation, of course, is a huge player in migraine. All of the medications that are new for the treatment of migraine in the past 5 years all target inflammation. So we are coming to understand the role of inflammation in migraine much better. And, we sort of have two choices here, right? We can take a pill that treats the pain, which is a result of the inflammation, or we can go to the source and really try to stop the inflammation and the inflammatory response from happening in our body in the first place. And of course, to my thinking, it makes a whole lot more sense to try to stop the inflammation from happening. Inflammation does multiple different things in your body. It doesn't just cause headaches, it can cause joint pain, it can cause brain fog, all sorts of other things. And so I think it makes a lot more sense to just try to cut down the inflammation, then you are healthier as a whole. So I feel like, in my experience, people who truly have headaches as a result of histamine exposure is a pretty small percentage of the population, whereas people who have headaches are the result of that are the result of inflammation is a huge percentage of the migraine population. And so I hate to see, people trying to work on this tiny, tiny percent when they are sacrificing something that is absolutely an issue for most people, if that makes sense. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want to feel like people are overreacting to the histamine issue and sacrificing their gut health when that is so much of a bigger issue. So how do you know? How do you know if the histamine containing foods are a problem for you? Well, I think one of the easy ways to do it is to try eliminating those foods for a couple of weeks. And if you don't see a clear cut improvement, then that is probably not part of the problem. Now, one of the things that can happen if you do have histamine issues, a lot of these people also tend to have problems with rashes on their body that can be related to too much histamine going on in the body. They may have other immediate type of food allergies as well, peanut allergies, other anaphylactic type of reactions. Maybe they have allergic reactions to multiple medications. These are all processes within the body that involve histamine. So if you have all of those symptoms, then it may make more sense to try avoiding high histamine foods as part of your attempts to reduce your migraine. So if you're one of those people, it may make sense. And Dr. P, I know that you have some interesting things that you offer for people as well who are pretty sure that histamine is a component of their migraines. How do you handle that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I first of all, I do very much agree. We've talked multiple times that the restriction of foods that happen in people's attempts to control their migraines becomes problematic in the fact that then they're missing a lot of nutrients that their body needs to be able to heal properly. And this is a perfect example. And so when we have somebody who has a lot of histamine reactions, and we know that histamine is a problem, they've challenged it, they add it back in, they definitely have a migraine trigger as a result, then yes, we do want to do a short-term elimination, but there are some tools that we can use to try to help them still be able to eat some of the foods that are really healthy, like the fermented products specifically that have a ton of those good, healthy probiotics for the gut. And you can actually take a supplemental support called DAO DAO enzyme, which stands for diamine oxidase. It's one of the enzymes that our body is supposed to produce to break down histamine. And so a lot of times what happens is there can be genetic reasons why we don't produce enough, or if we have some ongoing issue with histamine in our gut that's caused kind of a leaky gut situation, then the histamine can move through into the gut itself and create more of a histamine response that way. So the DAO enzyme is a supplement that you can take with higher histamine foods or known histamine foods, and that will help to break down histamine in the gut so that it cannot be absorbed. And that's a way that you can maintain a wider range of foods and not be quite so restrictive, while still getting the benefits of some of the probiotics. So that can be one really helpful tip. There's another common issue that I hear a lot, and I don't know if you've heard this, but I have a lot of people that come to me and they're like, I can't take probiotics because they trigger a migraine no matter what I take. And that always is a dead giveaway for me that there is a histamine issue going on for them, from a gut standpoint. So if anyone listening has that issue that they cannot tolerate any probiotics without it triggering a migraine, look very closely at histamine containing foods and consider that DAO enzyme to help break down those histamines, because most of the common over the counter probiotics have histamine promoting probiotics. So things like lactobacillus, a lot of the lactobacillus strains, and some of the streptococcus strains, they all promote histamine release. Whereas there are certain strains that you can actually focus on, such as the bifidobacterium, which might be just across the board the better option to go with, because that can actually help to reduce histamine in the gut as well. So those are often much better tolerated probiotics and can help to work on healing the gut up, if this is a major issue for somebody that they can't tolerate probiotics. So that would be something for them to look into a little bit further.
Thanks. That is super cool. That's really useful information for people to have about how to handle this issue. So I feel like I don't do you see that a lot? Really, you see that a lot? Where I was thinking about what you said about people not tolerating probiotics because it'll trigger a migraine.
Yeah.
Gosh, and I was trying to like reach back through my memory banks. I need to ask that question more often. I feel like I haven't encountered that too terribly much. I feel like what I am always hearing is people like avocados. So, for example, I recommend for people to eat avocados as a source of fat. The brain needs fat. It's a healthy source of fat. If we're going to have some in our diets, we might as well get it from healthy sources. And I know that there are many, how to eat for migraine books out there that tell you don't eat avocados no matter what. And so I am sort of indirect opposition to that, because I think that the benefits far outweigh the risks, but a lot of people get very skeptical about that. So I feel like
Yeah.
I hear that one a lot. Do you hear that one a lot?
Do. Yep. And fermented foods are another one. They can't tolerate fermented foods. And that's where that
Yeah.
enzyme can be really helpful. So you can still get the benefits of those healthy, brain healthy foods. And it helps to break down that histamine so that you can actually eat those foods and get the nutrients from it. There's actually a couple of genes that are involved in breakdown of histamine that can be a problem. So especially if somebody has a family history of allergies, or being allergic to a lot of different things, this can be an issue for them. And interestingly, not a lot of people know this. Everybody knows, well, in order to get like the most effective B12, you should be taking methyl B12. Most people are aware of that and are taking it. However, if you have a histamine issue, methyl B12 is actually a problem for most of them. That will
Mhm.
actually make their histamine worse. It's, I think of it like the Superman histamine, right? It kind of is histamine on steroids. So they'll actually make that reaction worse by taking methyl B12. So in those cases, it's really important for them to be getting either hydroxy or adenosylcobalamin, or hydroxy B12, or adenylyl B12, because those are not going to cause that kind of steroidal histamine, if you will, and will help your body to process the histamine a little bit more effectively, so it's not building up quite so much. So just thought I'd throw that in there as another little tip.
Yeah, yeah, good. That's a good one. Absolutely. And then I think another thing to distinguish here is that there's a lot of overlap between a true histamine reaction in your body and just simple seasonal allergies, right? Because that can trigger your migraines as well. So, allergies can be like runny nose, itchy throat, watery eyes, red eyes, where you're just having a simple allergic reaction to all the stuff in the air. Oh my gosh, I was in near Lake Tahoe over the weekend for my birthday and my son's birthday. And the cotton from the cottonwood trees was so thick in the air. It looked like it was snowing.
Blizzard.
It
Yeah.
was not snowing. It was all cotton. It was insane. So I was just like, I mean, fortunately, I'm not allergic to that stuff, but I feel my family who I was there with, a lot of those people were, and I was just like, oh man, that
Mm.
is the worst. So, you got the red eyes, watering, runny nose all day long. My son was reacting to it. And so, there's a lot of stuff in the air right now. And the simple process of having an environmental allergy isn't truly, any kind of a genetic abnormality in how your body handles histamine. Yes, antihistamines do help with those environmental allergies, but that doesn't mean like you're not going to tolerate avocados or sauerkraut or yogurt, right? That just means you have allergies and it's irritating the trigeminal nerve ending. So the trigeminal nerve has a branch that comes here and a branch that comes over here, and it takes in the sensory information from your face. If this stuff is irritated, you can see how that nerve is going to be firing, firing, firing. And when that nerve fires too much, it sends a signal directly back to the brainstem saying, generate a migraine. And then it initiates that whole cascade of events in the body that are involved with the migraine. So I think that's an important distinction to make too. Like, just because you react to an allergens in the environment, which can be super common this time of year, that doesn't mean you have a fundamental histamine problem in your body that says you should avoid histamine containing foods, which happen to be very good for gut health. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I might disagree with you just a little bit. I usually what I find is that people who do have seasonal allergies because of the histamine burden already at play in their body, going on a short term, like 1 month during their really bad season, like for example, if they had cottonwood allergies, going on a histamine restricted diet and doing some of the DAO and some of those things can actually help the body to process the histamine being released much faster. So it becomes less inflammatory overall. And so a lot of times seasonally for my patients who would come in with the main complaint of seasonal allergies, we do all of the things like quercetin and nettles and high dose vitamin C and all the stuff that helps to kind of stabilize that histamine release. But then also going on a temporary low histamine diet and then working on some of those underlying genetic things that can help to improve how their body is processing the histamine can all go a long way to take their allergy response from a 10 to a 2 and becomes much more bearable for them in the short term. So if we extend that towards somebody with migraine and the histamine response is triggering their migraine, they can still do a lot of these things and help to bring their body burden of histamine down, especially during allergy season. But again, keeping in mind that restriction, we don't want to restrict foods for too long. A month, sure, 6 weeks, that's reasonable. But after that, then we start looking at, are we doing the things we need to do to allow our bodies to enjoy these foods and get the nutrition from them? And if we're not, we're just staying away from them because we don't want that to be a problem or a trigger, then that's where we start to come into the issue. So usually our goal is to not have a food restriction for any longer than 6 to 12 weeks, depending on the severity of, the underlying issue, and working on healing things up, whether that be genetics, like in the histamine case. And I'm not saying everybody with allergies does have that, but there are ways that we can improve how the body is processing histamine with certain nutrients and things like that. And that's where some of the genetics can come in play, especially if they have a family history of seasonal allergies or really strong allergies, or a family diagnosis of MCAS, or somebody has a family history of MCAS, which is mast cell activation syndrome. Those things can all go a long ways towards helping to reduce the body burden of histamine, which then can improve that as a trigger for migraine. So, yeah, so just a little bit of a different view.
Yeah, but I love that about our point counterpoint. Like you can bring all of the perspectives of being a naturopath. I bring all the perspectives of, traditional, conventional MD neurology, so that, we can really bring more resources for the people who are out here trying to learn and do everything they can to reduce their migraines.
Yeah,
And I
and I
guess,
would agree.
yeah, exactly. That's why we call it point counterpoint.
That's right. Well, and the thing too, like if someone's hearing us and they're like, okay, well, she says that we should avoid it and she says we shouldn't avoid it. What do I do? Like, I think it's important to just really consider your situation, right? So if you do have a ton of seasonal allergies, you've got a family history, or maybe you've been diagnosed with mast cell activation syndrome or some other mast cell problem, then sure, especially during allergy season, it might be very helpful for you to go off of histamine foods for 6 or 8 weeks. But if you're just, like, well, I heard that I was supposed to because if I have migraine, then a low histamine diet is appropriate. I see that all over the place. I don't know. Like it's something that you could definitely try for a couple of weeks and then add it back in and you can see if it's something that seems to trigger you. And if it is, again, not just eliminating those histamine foods, but then saying, all right, a piece of my migraine puzzle is histamine. Now, what do I have to do about it? Right. And so that's where we kind of circle back to, all right, let's look at some of the genetics, the DAO gene, the MAOA gene, or the MAO gene, MTHFR. Are the supplement forms that I'm taking, like the methyl B12, a problem? Am I taking things that will help to support my body processing and getting rid of this histamine? Those are the things that we want to make sure that you're doing so that within 12 weeks or so, you're able to start adding those foods back in and not having it trigger you again, right? So I think we're both in 100% agreement on that, that even if you do want to try a limited time histamine restricted diet, great, see what happens. But then that's not the last step. It's not just eliminate and be done. It is now let's work on that underlying issue so we can add those foods back in and tolerate them again.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And just another resource to think about if you are having trouble with seasonal allergies, nasal washes are incredibly effective. I would do those in the morning because it does you do tend to drain for a couple hours afterwards. Nasal steroids like Flonase, they're over the counter these days. They're super cheap. Do a little nasal rinse, the sinus rinse. I don't just mean squirting in saline. That doesn't do much. You have to do the full on Neomed sinus rinse or a neti pot where the water literally goes up one nostril and drains out the other. I mean, it has to really clean that stuff out. And then a little nasal steroid. You can add on some Claritin kind of as a last resort. I always like the nasal washes and Flonase first, but there are many, many tools that are available to help keep you with as minimal symptoms as you can. Because if you start getting a stuffy nose, runny nose that's keeping you up at night, then you're not sleeping, then of course your headaches are going to get worse. So,
Yeah.
and we don't want that to happen.
Yeah,
So,
some of those lifestyle things are the most foundational stuff. Getting a HEPA filter for your bedroom and just having it run
yeah,
day. Most people know keep your doors shut, your windows shut during allergy season so you don't get all the dust and pollen in your house. Making sure you're vacuuming and dusting regularly, or maybe having a friend or somebody else who's not allergic do it for you. Maybe not your friend, but your husband or your
husband, there we go.
but another trick that I actually find works really well for a lot of people too is after, like, a lot of people take their showers in the morning. If you switch that to nighttime showering and you make sure you wash your hair, you wash your face, because if you think about all the pollen that gets on your hair and then you lay your head down on a pillow and then you're breathing that pollen in all night long. So if you do a nice hair wash, take a nice shower, rinse off right before bed, and you get into bed, then you won't be breathing that, having that exposure, and it will allow your body a chance to kind of lower its inflammatory response as it does its healing through the night. So that's another little trick that seems to work well for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. All right, folks. So if you are interested in learning more about root causes of migraines and other types of headaches, then go to migraineclass.com. You'll see a 10 to 15-minute video. It's got captions. You don't even have to play it out loud. And that will kind of get you started, fill in your knowledge base on other things that can be going on to contribute to headaches. Because, of course, the path to recovery isn't to just keep taking a medication to suppress the pain. That's fine if you have 1 or 2 headaches a month. But if you're having more headaches than that, you need to really figure out what's going on under the surface and fix that problem, because migraine can become a chronic disease. And I don't want that to happen to you. So we've got to really start getting to those underlying root causes of headaches. And you can do that at migraineclass.com. And how about you, Dr. P? You got any resources for people who want to learn more?
I do. So a lot of people ask me about the genetic aspect of things. So we have a free guide on migrainemastery.org/resources. And there is a genetic guide of kind of the top 7 or 8 genes that are correlated with increased migraine. And so the ones that I mentioned today, DAO, MTHFR, MAO, those are all in there so that you can kind of take a look and see if that might be something of use to you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate your wisdom and insights. And best of luck enduring allergy season to all of you. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.